You ever been scrolling, just endlessly scrolling, and you get this weird feeling that something is just off, like reality itself is kind of glitching? Well, you are definitely not alone. It seems like a lot of people, including some major tech moguls and scientists, are seriously suggesting we might be living in a simulation. So let's dive into this simulation hypothesis and see if we can unpack this massive idea without, getting lost in a total existential spiral. I mean, it really hits differently when one of the most famous tech figures in the world says something like this, right? Elon Musk has put the odds of us being in the one true base reality at billions to one against. This whole idea has officially moved out of sci-fi movies and is now a real debate happening in places like Silicon Valley. And yeah, that brings us to the big question. If we are living inside some kind of massive cosmic video game, why does it feel like we're the only ones who didn't get the instruction manual? It's the kind of question that can really send you for a loop. So how did this happen? How did this idea go from some niche philosophical puzzle to a theory that's actually gaining mainstream traction? Well, it's not just a random tweet. It's a conclusion that some of our sharpest minds in physics and cognitive science are starting to take very seriously. And I think the reason this hypothesis hits home for so many of us is because it taps into a feeling we already have. That feeling of being a non-playable character, an NPC in our own lives. You know, where you feel like you're just reacting to the world, to the news, to the code as it's being fed to you, without any real sense of control or agency. And that feeling, it has a real psychological cost. It creates this very specific kind of unease. You could call it the NPC anxiety. When you start to honestly believe you're just a background character in a game you don't even understand, it can be, well, it can be incredibly unsettling. You know, there's actually a term for this, ontological shock. It's that deep, gut-wrenching anxiety that hits when your most basic understanding of reality just gets shattered. Imagine finding out the floor under your feet isn't solid, but just a hologram. It's that feeling. Suddenly, life feels less like a journey and a whole lot more like a glitchy, unpredictable video game. And this shock has real, tangible ripple effects on you. First, there's just the mental fatigue. You're trying to process the constant noise of the modern world. Then, it can create what some traditions call a junk thought virus. That relentless, totally useless internal monologue that just eats up all your mental processing power. And when you put those two together, you get this profound loss of agency. I mean, how are you supposed to win a game when you don't even know the rules? Okay, but here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. This high-tech, very modern Silicon Valley idea of a simulated reality, it might not be new at all. In fact, its roots might go back thousands of years. The parallels are just stunning. Look at this! What modern science calls the simulation hypothesis, Himalayan sages called Maya, or illusion, ages ago. The idea that our world is built from bits of information, that lines up perfectly with the ancient concept that physical matter is just condensed energy. And get this, the super weird observer effect from quantum physics, the fact that particles behave differently when we watch them, that maps directly onto the ancient principle that our conscious observation actually shapes reality. It's like it's the same manual, just written in two completely different languages. So if we run with that idea, that modern science and ancient wisdom are basically pointing to the same thing, then our job becomes pretty clear. We need to find the right manual. We need a decoder that can help us navigate this strange reality we're all in. Right. To tackle that existential confusion, we need more than just theories. We need practical tools. So we went looking for the best user guides out there, and we landed on two essential manuals that come at this problem from two very different but very important angles. So here they are. These two manuals offer really different paths. You've got the case against reality, which is the dense scientific proof. It lays out the what and the why from a super rigorous academic point of view. Then you have the Maya simulation, which is what we're calling the practical player's guide. It's all about the how. How do you actually use this information? So you have the theoretical proof on one side and the player's manual on the other. Let's start with The Case Against Reality by cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman. His whole argument is that evolution didn't shape us to see reality as it truly is. Instead, we see a simplified user interface, kind of like the icons on your computer desktop. Those icons are useful, sure, but they are not the complex reality of the circuits and the code running underneath. It's a brilliant proof that we're in a game, but it doesn't really tell you how to play it. And that's exactly why our top recommendation is the Maya simulation. This is the player's manual. It doesn't just explain the why, the quantum physics behind the simulation. It gives you the how. It's a truly practical guide to debugging your own mind, patching the glitches in your own experience, and actually using this knowledge to your advantage. So the core tool in the book is this really powerful mental hack called the zero voice technique. And the goal is simple: free up your brain's processing power from all that useless mental chatter. Here's how it works. First, you just recognize that stream of junk thoughts in your head for what it is. It's just background noise. Second, you learn to detach from it, realizing it's just a faulty bit of code, an ego virus, as the book calls it. Third, you practice silencing that noise, which then lets you access a super focused flow state. And the result? You get to reclaim all that mental energy for what actually matters. It's a real practical hack for your own brain. And this brings us to the most empowering part of this whole idea. Because once you have a manual, once you have the right techniques, the entire game changes. It's time to stop just reacting and, well, maybe start rewriting some of the code. And that really is the entire point. Knowing about the simulation isn't supposed to scare you or make you feel powerless like an NPC. The whole goal is to use that knowledge to wake up from the character you thought you were playing and to remember that you are, and you always have been, the player at the controls. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. When you look at your life, your day-to-day decisions, that voice in your head, are you the character, just reacting to the script, or are you the player, holding the controller? It seems the choice is up to you.